Hello internet friends, in this video I'm going to show you how to do the final ace pilot mission where you have to destroy a Corellian Corvette. It's a little bit of a tricky mission if you don't know the order in which to do things, so I'm going to talk through that. I'm also going to talk you through what weapons I'm running on this particular ship so you can get a sense of power levels and things compared to your own. I'm going to show you two versions. The first version I'm going to show is me doing it properly, and then I'm going to show you the actual version where I got the ace pilot badge with Napyet, which did not go smoothly. Sometimes there's a tendency with how-to videos to show only the best version of something happening. Makes it look very easy, and I want to give you a sense of how things can really pan out when they don't go well. So I'll do that afterwards, and it's also a chance to see kind of if you don't have the optimal gear and things don't go swimmingly, you can still do it. Basically, all is not lost. But let's first look at me doing the mission properly. So I'm doing this mission in the Jedi Starfighter. It's a small interceptor style craft, very low mass but high speed and maneuverability. You have to be very economical with the equipment that you put in. Okay, so let me talk you through the components I'm using here. For the reactor, I have a low mass reactor with a high energy output. It's the energy I need to run all the components in the ship is easily covered by this reactor, but I need that additional energy pool for the droid commands that I'm running, which I'll talk you through in a moment. With the engine, it's the same principle again, as low mass as possible with as high speed as possible and maneuverability. This one's not bad, it does the job, and once the droid command for the engine overload is running, you can get decent speed with this engine. The shield is an area that I've tried to save mass, so this is not the best shield that you can get. It's a level 7 reverse engineered shield, and level 7 kind of equipment is what you need to be looking at in a low mass ship like this. The point is that I wanted the Starfighter to have two weapons firing at the same time. That's what I prefer. I don't like the kind of, it's just a personal thing, I don't like the sense of like one weapon firing. I want to be firing two weapons at the same time. It's more Star Warsy to me, and actually you can get some good damage doing that, but you can't put two level 8 weapons into a ship of this size and expect it to be any good. All the other equipment is going to be crap because those are just too heavy really for this space frame. So the principle being we sacrifice defense for offense in this case, so a slightly less good shield allows us to fit those two weapons. The armor is not really worth mentioning. I only have armor on this ship because I had a little bit of mass left over at the end. But generally with these small ships, I don't use any armor at all. I would rather spend the mass on other components. So I generally run without armor. The capacitor is the thing that I've spent the most money on. It's a very expensive one, and it's the thing that makes this build kind of work. Those two weapons that I have firing wouldn't really be able to fire for very long without this capacitor. It's a Deep Well Mark IV, I think, and very expensive, but it has that high recharge rate of 61, a big pool of capacitor energy, which is good for firing the weapon, but also shunting from the capacitor to the shields. You can easily just regen your entire shields very quickly. So this is the kind of thing that makes the ship and this build work. The booster and the droid interface are pretty much what you would expect, as low mass as possible with as good stats as possible. The droid interface is important because you need to be using those shield shunt commands, so you know, just got to get the balance right and see what you've got to work with in terms of mass. This one's okay. And then it's just the weapons. These are two advanced ion cannons, level 7. Ion cannons hit shields a little bit harder than most other things, but oftentimes I choose lasers based on the effect in the game rather than that particular bias towards armor and shields. Basically the compromise I've made here is for efficiency of energy per shot. So these are quite low for level 7s. It means they don't have the highest damage, but I want sustained fire. So I've sacrificed a little bit of damage for the energy per shot statistic. The droid commands I'm running are 4 level 4 droid commands. We have got reactor overload, capacitor overcharge, weapon overload, and engine overload. I also have capacitor to shield shunt 4 loaded. That will shunt all the capacitor power to the shields. I also have capacitor to shield shunt 2 and 1. So sometimes you can shunt power to a portion of the power, but leave some behind for continuing to fire if you need to do that. I think it's a good option to have in the game. I don't use a lot of space commands and stuff. I use them in emergencies, but I don't use them at all in this fight, so I won't go over those here. What I do have set up though is a macro, and I'd advise doing this once you've got kind of locked in what you're going to be using, and you can run that macro and it just loads up all your droid commands automatically. Okay, so the Corvette is in the Kessel system, and it's entered differently depending upon which pilot faction you belong to. Imperial pilots need to go to the Endor system and fly to the Imperial Claw station. Freelance pilots need to go to the Dathomir system and Last Nav station, and Rebel pilots need to go to Dantooine and the Deep Space station. Once there, you comm the station and ask to travel to Kessel. Once you arrive in the Kessel system, you are looking for the Corellian Corvette if you're an Imperial. If you are a Rebel or neutral, you are looking for the Star Ravager. Both are Corellian Corvettes, and that's just what they're named. They spawn at particular waypoints, so I'm going to put the waypoints for each one in the description of the video. They also exit the system at a specific waypoint, and they travel between those two waypoints. They're on a respawn timer of 10 minutes, so you generally don't have too much time to wait if you miss one. So what I do is head towards the start waypoint. If you don't see your target as you're heading there, then travel to the exit waypoint, and between those two waypoints you will find the target at some point. Just keep cycling targets. If it's not there once you get to the exit waypoint, then just head back to the start, and generally speaking, if it hasn't spawned, it will be spawning, like I say, in about 10 minutes. So both Corvettes spawn with an escort of 2 gunboats, 2 interceptors, 2 heavy bombers, 2 fighters and 2 bomber class fighters. I've read several guides about this over the years, and people's methods vary, so I'll show you the method that I do, which involves clearing out the fighters first. So fly towards the Corvette and try to pull away the fighters. You're trying to pull them after you so that you move out of laser cannon range of the Corvette and the gunboats, and once the fighters have aggroed you, you should be able to do that. They'll keep pursuing you for quite a while. You want to take these out as fast as possible, so targeting reactors and engines, don't worry about destroying them, it's just a little bit quicker. So we're targeting subsystems. Since this is a tutorial, I don't need to teach people at this level how to fight a bunch of TIE fighters, so just stay out of range of the gunships and the Corvette and you should be fine. Take out the fighters, and we'll skip forward here, I think. Okay, so once the fighters are gone, we're going to head towards the Corvette. And this is a good place to freeze, I think, and talk through exactly what we're going to do here. We're attacking from below the Corvette. We always want to attack from the bottom because it has a lot of guns on top. The gunboats will also be bottom facing you if you're attacking the Corvette from the bottom. Be aware that they do shift around sometimes, so you can't rely on them to always be in this position. So be mindful, you might have to burn out of there if they start to twist around, but we want to go from the bottom. The way we can tell that we're attacking the Corvette from the bottom are these 8 bumps here. 8 bumps on the bottom, there are 4 on the top, and once we're attacking from the bottom, it only has 1 gun and it's highlighted at the minute. It's that gun there. And that's your first target. You're going to attack that gun and it's weapon 5. So cycle through subsystems on the Corvette until you see weapon 5 targeted. And that's what you're going to go for, first target. Be aware that it's going to fire at you, so you'll have to twist as you go in. The gunboats' guns that can hit you from below are to the rear. So if you're a little ahead of the gunboats, they probably are not going to fire at you too much. But once you head towards the number 5 gun on the Corvette, there's a chance that one of the gunboats might be low enough that it'll be able to bring its other weapons to bear on you. So don't hang around. Once you've shot gun 5 on the Corvette, then boost out. And remember, trying to stay below. Don't boost away above the Corvette. Do a 180 and go down again. So let's see it happen. So you should be able to do it in one attack run. If you don't, then just keep making multiple runs until that weapon is gone. Now that weapon 5 is gone, we can take the gunboats out. You can't do this really with weapon 5 there because it will keep hitting you as you try and take them out. We're going to hit their engines. This is something that I do. Other guides suggest that you take the gunboats out entirely. I find that takes a little bit too long. Maybe it's my build as an interceptor or whatever, but I just like to take the engines out because once they've lost their engines, they can't keep up with the Corellian Corvette, so it kind of leaves them behind. So we're just going to make these strafing runs at the gunboats, attacking from below so that only that rear gun can really get an angle on us. And the thing to be mindful here of is sudden changes in the Corvette's orientation if it decides to move, or the gunships jostle against one another or against a Corvette, which can change the angle of the guns and stuff. But basically we're making multiple attack runs targeting the engine subsystem of the lower gunship first, and then we'll do the same to the gunship that's slightly above. That's the general formation. So I'll just let that play out. You can see what's going on here. I'm not doing anything more complicated than strafing runs and attacking the engines. As you can see, the guns don't always attack consistently, so that's a good time to do some additional damage. We took the engine out in one run there. It doesn't usually happen like that for me with this fighter. So you can see it's starting to fall back already, and just be mindful it can still shoot at you. If you start your attack run on the second gunship too quickly, you'll be within the firing arc of the rear gunship, but it's not long before they leave it behind. So let's attack the second one. My mistake there, I strayed too far above the Corvette and you saw how quickly its top guns started to take down my shields. But not entirely. You might have noticed that it started to turn as I was going in there, so it started to do its twisty-turny thing. I'm not sure if it does that at certain points along its route, but yeah, once it twists and your the top guns are facing you, it shreds your shields. So you might have to delay things and wait for it to settle back down again, but it generally doesn't take too long. Much easier if the gunship decides to settle behind the engines like that. You're not in the arc of fire above the Corvette. You can just take it out pretty quickly. So the next target are the shields. There are two shields, secondary shields and the main shields. We'll go for the secondary shields first. They're in the right shoulder of the ship. So we're going to attack from the head on and slightly to the left. We're going to attack the secondary shield. It's a little bit awkward. It's in a weird spot, so some of your shots don't hit. If you come too acute at the side, your shots don't hit. So you have to be kind of coming in at the front a little bit diagonal towards it, if that makes sense, for your shots to actually register. And these subsystems are very, very weak, so just a few shots will take them out. We're going to do the same on the other side, take out the main shields. Next is the engine. Very little chance that anything is going to hit you here as long as you stay below. And then we've got the guns. There are two on either side and the rest are above. Remember to target subsystems if you're wondering where these things are, but some of these I already know, so I kind of just shoot without targeting sometimes. Not sure what happened there. I think I strayed too far above the Corvettes, but boost out and capacitor to shield shunt should hopefully keep you alive long enough to get out of range. And a good strategy to take out the top guns is to kind of just poke your head above the side of the ship and take them out that way. They can't kind of shoot you from that angle. And finally we have the reactor, which is another fiddly one. Sometimes your shots don't hit it. I'm not sure exactly what's going on with it. This is on the top of the ship, and obviously everything's safe now. We've taken out all the guns. But once it's gone, then you just have to take out the bridge, which always upsets me. I just have images of dying Imperials screaming, which, you know, it's hard to sleep, but we've killed a Corvette. Swings and roundabouts in this game.
Corellian Corvette down.
Okay, so hopefully that guide is clear and will help you. At the beginning I said I was going to show you what actually happened with Napyet, because I've done the Master Pilot on Legends now with 3 different characters, and the same thing has happened each time. In that there's been someone there to help. Sometimes it can be a character who's doing the ace badge, sometimes it can be a person like me. I've just done this after I did the ace badge. So if you're there in the system and you've scored at least 1 hit on the Corvette, then you're going to get credit when it dies. So you don't always have to do it yourself, so it's worth having a go even if you feel like you haven't got the weapons set up yet. And worth mentioning that none of the weapons that I'm using on this, now that I'm a Master Pilot with Napyet, are level 9 or 10 or even 8. This is all level 7 gear, so you can gear up your ship really, really well before you have to do this and have a really good chance of doing it. That's not something I did with Napyet. When I'm grinding up, I don't really worry about the final spec of my fighter until I've done the whole grind all the way through. So when I fought the Star Ravager the first time, I didn't have very good weapons or gear at all. And I'll show you what happened. It's me cocking up. It's me not being suboptimal, but it's an example of how it can still get done. So have a go and don't be intimidated. Give it your best shot. Apply the rules that I've shown in this guide, gear up your ship well, and I bet you're going to be able to do this ace pilot mission. No problem whatsoever. So let's have a look at that. So here he comes, Napyet the Jedi. The Force is with him, having taken out all of the fighters, but he's obviously not got his strategy down here, because you see he's trying to attack the weapon of the gunship, the rear cannon, which is not needed at all. Whether or not we forgot that, we needed to consult the guide again to realise that this is not the best thing to do, but actually experimenting was what taught me not to take out the weapons. This is the bit that I think is pointless. I think just take out the engines rather than trying to shoot down the entire ship. I don't think I've even destroyed the number 5 gun underneath the Corvette, so preparation and memory is probably the key. But all is not lost if you die on the mission. You still have the mission with you. It's still listed it, so you can head back there and keep going at the Corvette for as long as it's in the system. So do not despair. Get repaired, get straight back to the Kessel system and continue the attack. And wouldn't you know it, there's a nice chap here who obviously knows what they're doing a lot better than I do. And he's going to be the one who's going to make it happen for me on this day. You know, I get frustrated in life and with YouTube videos, guides by people. The nature of the thing is telling someone how to do something, but that doesn't always reflect your experience of playing the game. The game is messy, the game is all over the place, and you kind of muddle your way through a lot of the time. And guides don't really reflect that. They just show someone doing something well. And you know, I sometimes like to watch something where someone muddles through and we see the reality of the experience, which is a lot of times frustration and not being able to do something until, you know, you practice and you put the work in, you put the effort in, and then you know how to do it. But most of the time we don't. So I just wanted to show you this example and show you how, as well, you know, it's possible even at low levels, because someone might help you, and even with suboptimal gear it's doable. So have a go. And hopefully once you do get to the stage, right, I'm confident now I can do this on my own. The guide might help in some way as well. All right, so thank you for watching. As always, do like a sub and share the video if you get a chance. It really helps me out. I'm not doing enough really to kind of grow the YouTube channel. I'm not doing the YouTube dance, as it were. I don't do enough to kind of push the channel. Maybe it's something I need to do more, but you can certainly help by sharing the videos and letting people know about the channel. So you're supposed to ask people to do that. I don't do it enough, but yeah. All right, so I'll see you in the next video. Bye.